Hello and welcome to the interview. I'm your host, Jennifer Clyde. How often do you have the opportunity to see buildings and structures that are uniquely designed? Have you seen a house in the shape of a lollipop? What about a building with horns and a tail? Today's guest is an architect whose imaginations as such become a reality. Well, join me as I take you to meet architect Hoon.
The groundbreaking architect who has presented experimental structures by bridging art and architecture, and who turns his imagination into reality by translating his brilliant ideas to build form. He was the mastermind behind the lollipop house in the shape of a snail, the Star Wars house admired by sci-fi fans, and the Imagination Museum inspired by Dracula's castle. To meet Hoon, the host and production crew of the INNERview drove 3 hours to Sangdong, Gangwon-do province. He invited us to a place where he fostered his dreams as a child. The creator of impressive and innovative structures. Stay tuned to meet Hoon, an experimental architect who knows no boundaries.
Hello.
Hey, Jennifer.
Welcome. Hello,
When
Hoon.
did you arrive?
I got here a little earlier than you.
Wow, good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming.
So how do you like here? How do you like this city, huh?
You know what, to be honest,
Yeah?
when I heard that we would be interviewing an architect,
Yeah.
I imagined more of an area with these strange looking structures and buildings,
okay,
but
yeah.
this is nothing like that.
Remnants of a structure,
And
remains of structure.
Right,
Yes, that's
it
right.
kind of has a scary feel to it, but yet
Yeah.
it's very beautiful.
Yeah, I used to live here,
Uh-huh.
and I used to walk with my dad sometimes, and there used to be really many structures on top of each other, like,
I see.
one structure on top of the other, but angled back, so it was like a great kind of conglomerate architecture here.
So it looked a lot different.
Factory, yeah, a lot
years and years
different.
ago.
But I'm sad it's gone. But it's still, it has that remnants, and it looks like very ancient, like a Roman ruin
It
almost.
sure does.
Yeah.
All right, then I would love to find out more about this structure and, of course,
Yeah.
more about some other structures as well
Yeah.
as your work. So why don't we
all
begin
right.
our tour?
Okay.
Okay.
Look at that structure too.
Yeah.
Look, the top's gone. But
As a child, Hoon was fascinated by his surroundings. Taking note of even the smallest details, and he still recalls what this place looked like 40 years ago.
Is one of our first questions. I was very interested in your illustration essay. I know that you published an illustration essay quite recently, and there was a part that said, I often drew little drawings of my neighborhood when I was young. Perhaps I was already nurturing an architect inside me. I replace the memories I've lost with my imagination.
Yeah.
What do you remember this place to be?
Well, this is a small town, a mining town, Sangdong. So it was small enough so that you know where the grocery store is, where the fire station is,
Yes.
where the goodies are. So when you come home, you draw. I draw these little, from memory and little towns and everything, and it's like you understand the city, you understand the town you live in, you can hold of it. So many little drawings I did, but I didn't really know whether I was going to be an architect or not. It's just that I was drawing buildings and things like that, and mountains all together.
I see.
And I think I really enjoyed doing that. And since I grew up, I come back here because it's my hometown. I visit again and again, but I find it somewhat sad because it's structures are going away, people are leaving, so less and less building is visible. But the thing is, I can fill it up with my imagination. So in my drawings, as I grow up, I will be able to fill in with my new drawings or fantasies and fill. That's what I'm going to do.
So when you came here for the first time, did it feel really different from what it felt when you were a lot younger?
Yeah, it was really totally different because you know how when you're small, you are really small, short. So everything seemed big when I was young. When I came back in my college years, the mining was closed, so I could come into these structures, and I discovered this deserted space, which big, vast, and beautiful. So I was really excited about it. It was a very interesting experience. Now, and I remember, this town. You see, this mining town deals with tungsten, and to process it, ammonia gas is expelled, and so you could actually smell ammonia. When I was young, you could.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember
the smell of
ammonia. You walk by here, and you would see smoke, and you would smell this ammonia, strong scent, like So you associate this smell with this structure. Okay. You don't smell it anymore, but you can almost smell it.
You were talking about how you returned from studying, from what made you go abroad to study in the first place?
Well, see, the thing is, it's a complex story, but it's about my family. My father was a geologist, so that's why we were here, and he probably knew that mine was, the mining town was going to be inevitably, ended sooner or later. So he decided he wanted to pursue a career different from, so he decided to study abroad in Australia.
And he took him.
That's why.
He took you with him.
Yeah, he took our family with him. That's why we went to Australia.
So you liked it?
Yeah, I mean, it was like almost paradise. I used to paint every weekend, watercolor. So one of my art teacher his name is Peter Johnston, and he was from Britain actually. Who served in Korean War.
Oh, he did?
Yes, and he said, "Oh, you're from Korea? Oh, I don't like Korea. I almost killed myself, I hurt my back, But he was really a nice guy, so I showed him 30 paintings I did during the holiday. Look, Mr. Peter, look what I did. He said, "Oh, you did many drawings. I'm going to give let's do an exhibition. Your solo exhibition in the library."
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow, really? I mean, I never really thought about it. I never thought of having an exhibition. I just drew for myself, right? They said, "I'm going to make frames for you." It was so kind and nice. It would make not expensive frames, but cardboard frames.
Yeah.
About 30 of them. And so we opened an exhibition, my solo exhibition, at the beginning of the term. 30 drawings in the library.
Your very first exhibition?
Yes, my first exhibition. And you know what was interesting was that I never thought I would sell. Nobody would buy them. I didn't expect anybody to buy them.
Your drawings they sold.
Actually, most of them were sold by some teachers bought them, and my friend's school buddy's parents bought them.
Did you want to keep any of them though?
I kept few of them,
but
but I was really surprised because that was my sort of first professional experience. So I was an artist then. So I became an artist because I was selling them.
So number one, you got the opportunity to have your very first exhibition.
Yes.
And it was unexpected, but people wanted to buy your work, so they purchased it. So you made some money.
Yeah, $40. It was like very cheap, like $20, $15, $30. But for me, for a kid, that's a lot of money. And the fact that some people like to buy them.
Right.
It was really good. And eventually what happened was sort of my rich blokes' parents called me. There was a richer neighborhood called Mountain Nelson. And one of the parents called me and they wanted me to draw a painting from the house, a view of Sandy Bay, which is a famous bay. So actually I was commissioned. So I did 2 commissioned drawings. So I was actually having great time, being a sort of an amateur young painter.
So this was exactly
13, 14, 15, that was 82, so I would be about 14, 15.
Now we know your age.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Okay, so I'm 30-something now, of course, yeah. And so that was really great because I didn't want to be I didn't want to be an artist. It's just that I did paintings. It's like the book recently published. I drew doodled, but I didn't really expect. My intention wasn't to publish a book. I just made a book just for myself, but somehow it trickles down and then becomes a book. So I'm sort of lucky in a way that way, I think. Yeah.
Childhood memories that built his vision.
So, would you say that since a very young age, you began to express your thoughts and feelings through drawings and pictures? Would that be the right way to put it?
Yeah. I mean, I know from my parents. They tell me that I was drawing since I was 4 years old. So they actually tell me a story. My mother was a little bit worried, she said, because I would be drawing all day long and not go out. So she said she was very surprised how intense I was at drawing.
Right.
She would give me like this much a bundle of paper, and it would disappear at night.
Really?
And sitting down all day.
What would you draw though?
Like the little towns and cars or trees, whatever, mountains, whatever. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what I drew, but I was drawing every day, all the time. And my father bought me a lot of toys, and that toys I would add imagination and then play with it. You know how you make noise, things like that. So in that sense, I was immersed in my own world in a way. But I wasn't really antisocial or asocial, but I was with friends. But I think that being alone and doing something was more important in my life. And it still carries on a bit because I have friends, but I'm not I have tons of friends. I have very good few friends. But still, I spend a lot of time being alone and doing things,
Right. So you enjoy your alone time.
Yeah, because it's very important to be, that's when you become more creative and you think about it and you think about, you prepare something and ideas. So it's a way of, some people might say it's lonely life, but I think you need kind of solitude to be creative in a way, because you need to be alone to think about things, because when you're with someone, your company is too good, so you don't think about anything.
Right.
So I think it's a way of life you choose or you are chosen to be, because I didn't choose to be this character. You know what I mean? I was imbued with my life. It's not my choice. I was born without my will, right?
And you were made this way.
Yes, so I'm just tuning in with my character. So I'm living with my life according to my character. And I'm trying to be full in the character that I was born with. So then, if in the end I'll be a flower that blossoms with a character that is imbued within.
I like the way you put that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So, okay, we talked about your teenage years. This was in Australia up till this point. And then I understand that you returned to Korea and you attended high school here.
Yeah, second year in high school.
Okay, so there's a flip once again.
Oh my God,
now you're at a totally new atmosphere once again, although you are Korean. So was it then difficult for you to adjust to the new environment here? Did you have any problems with the kids in class, or do you think that you and your other classmates were different in any way?
Tarun High School was the school I went to in Hobart, in Tasmania. It had 20 to 30 students. It was by the beach. It was great.
Oh.
Yeah. Bikinis in summer, and almost, yeah. And swimming classes. And here, like this big boxy 4-story building.
Yeah.
And I went to the high school, and it was actually empty at that time because a lot of people, they were having phys ed, physical education. I went to the classroom, 60 desks and chairs. And then 5 minutes later, big boys coming, brr, all sweaty. Oh, it smells like a boot camp, you know? Oh, this is reality. Oh my
So this
God.
was your first day at school?
Yeah.
Your first day?
Yeah. And I said, it's like a strange dream almost. It's like such a contrast, you know? Like suddenly so-called paradise and then suddenly like boot camp. Wow. Yeah, so it was getting adjusted to the system was difficult because after 2 weeks, I had to take the exam. School exam, of course, you know, end of the term exam.
Right,
I didn't study, I don't know anything, right? I was vacant for 3 years almost, and I don't know any, like, for example, Chinese characters I've never learned.
Right.
I know no history. All I knew, or probably better than others, would be English.
So what happened?
So after the exam, I was like the 56 out of 58 students. Two students were hockey players. So I was the, you know, how do you say, golchi, you know, the last guy. The last guy.
With the worst grades?
Yeah,
Not the worst, but almost.
Yeah. But I wasn't really shocked. I mean, you know, it's inevitable. I didn't have time to study or anything. So that was difficult. And I think I didn't really like the situation because the school was more of a just you become an exam taker. You just take exam, you study. Your aim should be going to go to a good university.
Right.
So you're pushed. Everyone's pushed to the same direction. You know. But you know, I was like, I don't want to. You know, I don't want to. You know, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. So I studied. I studied enough so that I went to university. But I wasn't really fully engaged into the system.
I see.
So it wasn't that pleasant. So if I recall my high school years in Korea, I remember myself sleeping a lot.
Sleeping in class? Yes.
Sleeping in class, sleeping in at home too. And then pretending that I wasn't sleeping when my mother comes in. Hoon, oh yes, I'm studying, of course. How come you look like, you know, drowsy? And, no, I was studying, Mom. Yeah, you know, so that was. And the other thing was, like, we had art classes, and the art teacher wasn't very encouraging because it was so formal in a way. Like I was drawing something with a ballpoint pen.
Yes.
And the art teacher would say, Hoon, it's not proper to use ballpoint pen.
What did he ask you to draw with?
It should be some kind of like 4B, you know, proper utensil.
Pencil or
whatever, or a pen, whatever. Yeah. So ballpoint pen and sharp pencil. No. So I was really getting angry, annoyed by. I can do whatever I want. Why do you tell me what to do? So I decided not to be an artist. Oh, was it? No, I can't blame on him. But one of the reasons was that these teachers were discouraging me in a way, not intentionally,
right?
But as a result, they discouraged me.
I guess
so. I didn't want to be an artist.
They didn't give you the opportunity to grow, to develop your creativity.
No. And I did something that I liked, but they didn't like it, so I wasn't getting good scores in grades, even in art.
Okay.
So then I thought, you know, I would just become not an artist, but I would become I was vaguely saying to myself, I draw a lot of buildings and architecture, so I'm going to be an architect probably. So this, you know, so that's why I went to a school of architecture.
Translating his imagination into built form.
So now, when you were in college, whether it was in undergraduate or when you were in graduate school, I'm sure that the professors noticed that you were quite a character, as people call you a character in a good way, right?
Yeah.
You're different, unique, and I'm sure you stood out among your classmates. What did your professors think about you as a student or as you know, a soon-to-be architect, and also of your projects?
Okay.
What did they think about
All right. In undergrad, many professors, I think, were very surprised at a young student, quite adept at designing, because since I told you that I was practicing alone, doing 100 houses,
Right.
you know, nobody was doing that much work. So I was very adept already. And sophomore years, they were surprised. They were, oh, this guy is only that old and he knows a lot. So I think they looked at me with some kind of awe and some kind of you know, respect. Oh, this guy is really talented. So I had a great time in that sense because my professors encouraged me. You're good, you know, you're doing well. Yeah, do better, work harder. And I entered competition, student competition, first prize. You know, I won the first prize.
Several.
No, I just entered once, and I got the first prize.
Oh wow!
I didn't do anything. Once is enough.
Why not? Why not
No,
any
once is
additional?
No, I'm sort of the guy who says once is enough. Anyway, once I won the show, won the competition. So I was like kind of almost becoming arrogant inside. You know, oh, I'm so good. You know, you know. But I didn't show it outside. But I almost felt like that because I was doing very well.
Well, it's good to be confident and, you know, believe
Yeah, I
in
was very
yourself.
confident. I was very confident. So I stood out as a guy who loved design and do well and quite adept because practice a lot.
Right.
And different because in two ways. I would sometimes do freehand drawings.
What do you mean by freehand?
Usually you have to use rulers.
You
Drafting.
I
You see,
see.
architecture is not really a drawing, but
It's
drafting.
all about using.
So using T square and
Right.
you know these triangular things, you know.
And drawing
Yeah.
lines, measuring every
Yeah.
milliliter.
But I would sometimes just skip that and draw freehand. And it's like almost unheard of. Nobody does that. But I got an A out of it because it was good. So I was sort of regarded different breed. Anyway, I was lucky, I think, because professors acknowledged me and, you know, they understood me maybe, and you know. So anyway, so undergrad years I was stood out as that kind of a guy who works hard with talent. I went to the United States, and the first thing that shocked me was that there was a graduate school, so many different backgrounds. There are a lot of students, and that's how America was.
Right.
And it was really funny because when I went to America, first term, it was very different from Korean education because Korean education was more like, okay, there's the field. You move as you wish. It was more of an open system, meaning the studio was a very open education. Nobody dictates you what to do.
Then this was.
No, this was in Korea.
In Korea.
Yeah, Korea. The architecture education was like that. Almost like a parent who just lets kids do whatever they want. So it was good. There's something good about it and bad about it.
They let you do whatever you wanted
Yeah.
to do, but then again, what would be the disadvantage? They didn't exactly instruct you or
No,
teach
they
you?
didn't teach you anything.
Okay.
It was like almost being in a field. You're a cow in a field. You can do whatever you want. In America, it was more regimented, strict. It was a studio. Every week, the studio instructor would come and discuss and criticize your work. It was different. It was a way of pushing your limits, right? Pushing you. They put you through a system that is directed by one of the studio instructor who has his own agenda. So I went through that. Oh, this is American Western sort of education. It was all right. But then at the end product I found that was not much different from what I would do, you know, without any process. You know what I mean? So it was I was a very intuitive approach. So my approach to architecture was very intuitive. So I could do that really without that process, I thought. So after one process like that, I felt, I think maybe this is not what I really want to do. So I really didn't follow much of what the student instructor would say. So I was just, okay, yeah, but I would do whatever I want. So, but in a larger scale and a different scale because it's a graduate student school and the studio was very important and a lot of effort and energy was put into it, and you had your own studio space because it's a graduate school. So I was intense on developing what I thought was my agenda. So at that time, a lot of professors was beginning to think, this student, he works hard, but he doesn't really listen to what the professor has to say.
Did you get good grades in grad
No.
school? No.
Of course not, because because many of the programs or the structures they proposed for me was sort of just that sort of lame.
It's kind of too boring for you,
Yeah,
maybe?
maybe lame. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something else. So I was more rebellious in a way.
I see.
So it was a rebellious years, but in a good environment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not rebellious for the rebellious sake, but
Right.
rebellious in a good
In a good-
environment. Many good friends who inspire you,
Yeah.
and many good inputs. So it was great. Anyway, but the thing was, I wouldn't really listen to the professors, and instead of saying,
I don't think you're the type to really listen to professors.
No.
You're such a free soul and
yeah,
such a
I just do
free-spirited
whatever I want
person.
to do. So in the end, I look like a tame lame. Maybe no, I could look like a lamb. Oh yes, professor, I'm from Korea. I listen, like all Asians do. Very nice person.
I'll do as you say, but
I respect old guys. I respect professors. No, I wasn't. So like I was like painting red. I was painting doors red. Shh. That's a sort of a propaganda already. My final presentation, I would get 5 doors. I would spray them red, and then I would put up 5 drawings, and like it stands out, right? It's like, what is this? So it put a sort of a stir into the studio. I wasn't the only one. There were many guys, of course, like me. So I was rebellious, but I was having a great time and learning something about myself. Oh, this is what I am. And so I would be interested in Korean culture too. Yeah, I was. Then I began to realize, okay, now I'm in Western culture, Western civilization. I'm trying to learn Western things, and I realized I don't really need to do this, because architecture and culture has nothing to do with different cultures. Every culture is important. And what's the point of learning a culture that's not really yours? I mean, you can pick it. You can pick things you like, but it's not. You don't have to really go into that.
you're not
right?
required to learn every detail about it.
So I decided to look into my culture. So when you're abroad, you begin to feel how Korean you are.
Right.
So that's when I started to be more interested in Korean traditional culture.
Right.
So such as shamanism and the death rites and the rituals, everything, and the colors.
Bridging art and architecture.
Although you didn't get good grades in school, did any of your professors or anyone around you offer you jobs?
No.
Or no?
No. The funny thing was, like famous firms were actually recruiting students at the end of the graduation year, but nobody contacted me.
Why not? Or
because
why?
I was known as a guy who has his own agenda. He's stubborn. He does good work, but is too self-oriented, whatever. So you see, my thesis, I had a great difficult time finding thesis advisor, because everyone I would go to ask for a thesis advisor, he would say or she would say, "Oh, you have your agenda. I'm busy."
And they said that
to me,
to your face.
So I could not graduate because I was not able to find any professors.
Oh no.
So what happened was they had a committee. So they chose actually not designers, but actually history professor.
History
professor, and a professor, but who's not so strong character. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I found some. They found me some thesis advisors, so I could actually graduate. But finally, with the help of the committee, I was finally able to get thesis advisor, and so I did my thesis, and it was called Beyond Two Opposites. It's about a bridge, and the crematorium, and the hotel, and the nightclub, and all that stuff.
You've got to tell me more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And that was the thesis, and I finally did it, and I got passed, And so I got my master's, and so everybody was happy.
Okay, so before we move on to finding out more about your projects and your designs, first of all, let's shift over to Hoon Architects. Now, we talked about you finishing your master's and then you serving in the military. Now, was it right after you served in the military that you established Hoon Architects, or?
No, I worked for some firms.
Oh, you did?
4 years. 4 different firms. One small studio run by a lady. 2 firms, pretty large.
In Korea?
In Korea.
All in Korea.
And 1 firm in America, pretty large too. So I had 4 years experience in various firms before I decided to open my practice. The reason I wanted to start my own practice is that, it's very simple. I jokingly say I opened it up because I couldn't be just a normal salaryman, because I would go very late every day and I would feel very sorry. So I couldn't go anymore because I was getting in late. The other reason is that even though you are satisfied doing work designed by others, you're not you're not in charge, right? You are the designer, but the idea is, the concept is from the chief architect or the owner, right? So you're part of developer of that idea, but sometimes you don't like the concept, right? So you want to be the person who starts from the concept. That means you have to do your own work,
right?
So that's why I want to do my own work. It's fun enough developing other people's ideas, because since I'm flexible, I can enjoy that, because he throws an apple at me and I turn it into mango, right? Whatever. Mango that looks like apple.
Change it into what?
No, mango, but it smells like apple, whatever. Okay, I do that.
Okay.
I have a great time. But that's not good enough, so I want to do something myself. So that's why I decided to start my work.
This is Hoon Architects' office in Gangnam-gu, Seoul.
Hello, welcome to my office, the office of red, gold and black.
The office is decorated in 3 main colors, red, gold, and black. There is a gold wall on one side with various design sketches in frames, while the opposite wall is black with miniature models. In the middle of the room, there is a large desk inspired by the shape of a pavilion. The interior design and the decorative items reveal his unique artistic sense. This is where his countless ideals are brought to life. In one corner, unique and detailed architectural models are on display. These are the scale models of buildings that he designed and built. We asked him to explain some of the scale models in detail.
This is a house called S Mahal, and 2 things stand out. First, a place to see the view, and a military with curtains outside, so it reacts to wind. There are many courtyards in the house and the pool. A lot of people and animals together live here. So this is a project named Ragitsuda, and it's a pension. It's situated in Jeongseon in Gangwon province, and it's basically has many themes, one of which is a Spanish theme, and the client wanted a kind of a bullfight as the theme. So I devised a horn to the house, as you see, and that's where it became famous because of the horn. The other concept was the Ferrari and the car and the plane and the Barbie doll. So this project is very interesting in the fact that it's very dynamic. The space is very good, and it's very active. And it also has a tail that behaves as a hammock. The tail's here. Do you see the tails here? And there's another one here, another one here. So actually I can do this. Look, see, this is the tail, where people can jump and down and they can sleep here. And As you can see, the space is very, like, it's contracting and expanding at the same time, so it's not an ordinary experience. You have a kind of a special experience in this sort of fantastic space. This is called Sangsang Museum, and it's in Hongdae, and it's a large building dedicated to a photographer who's pretty famous, and he has his studio and his office and his house all together, and it was designed in 2004. And the funny thing about this building is that the client believes he's Dracula. He's reincarnated. He's a funny guy. And so the initial idea was to make a house that looked like a Dracula's castle. And lastly, we come to woman figure building, and this is sort of a fantasy project where it's about a building that is shaped like a woman, but it deals with a lot of, how do you say, it's like kind of body shop, cosmetic surgery hospital and all that mixed up. So it's kind of a new surgery, entertainment, museum system in one, disguised as a large human figure. And it's not a build project, but it's an idea project.
In the back of the office, the staff was busy working on new designs. As the principal architect, responsible for several junior architects under him, it would have been impossible for him to bring forth experimental designs without conviction or courage. He is a true professional who pursues perfection down to the smallest details. What do staff members think of Moon Hoon?
빨리빨리 디자인을 요구하는 게 있으세요. 그러다 보니까 일하는 중에서는 굉장히 바쁘죠. 야근은 또 하지 말아야 되니까. 그래서 그런 거 빼고는 괜찮은 것 같아요.
디자인 결정하는 거나 이런 것들이 빠른 게 오히려 더 뭐 야근을 한다든지 이런 게 없고 그 일을 기간 동안에 딱딱 끝나니까 그런 점은 좋은 것 같아요. 예. 힘들지만 이제 좋다는 거죠.
You see the way he gets to the ideas, the way he can draw and things like that. That is not something that everybody can do. I mean, architects have lots of skills, but not every architect is as skillful. So, yeah.
The aim of my architecture would be expanding the capabilities and possibilities of what architecture is and what it can be. So I don't have a predefined definition of architecture, but more of an open attitude towards it. So it will be like amoeba growing into a different sort of field and becoming something that I can't really envision at this moment. It could be anything. So it's very kind of teenager-ish, I would say. It's still growing and have a great potential. That's what this office is about.
Instead of conforming to ordinary box-shaped building designs, the brilliant minds of Moon Hoon architects have brought forth imaginative structures based on their unique philosophy and vision. We can't wait to see what they bring to the table next.
Have all of your designs become a reality? Did you end up building?
No, not all of it. I would say it depends very differently every year. Mm-hmm. Some years everything I design gets built. Some years everything is done until the construction document part, mm-hmm. which means it's ready to be built. Mm-hmm. But then the client decides not to build it. So sometimes you are heartbroken in that case, because you've put a lot of effort into designing it. Not just designing it, but to make a reality in the drawing wise, in the construction documents, everything is ready. But then the client decides not to build it. Of course, maybe it's because his financial difficulties or whatever reason. So that's when actually I'm more heartbroken, because I put so much energy and I'm so eager to see it built. But then, So every year it's different. So I can't really count what percentage of my design is built, but usually 10, maybe, it depends, and it's very different year to year. 70% sometimes.
70%?
Sometimes 70 years, sometimes only 20%. Yeah, many designs, but only a few get built.
I see.
So roughly more than half, would be okay. Yeah.
Now, since we're talking about houses, of course, I have an idea of what kind of house I want to live in.
Yeah.
My ideas may change,
Yeah.
but what about, I'm curious as to know what kind of house you live in.
I live in an apartment, a very, very banal apartment, you know, like
An
everybody
apartment?
else. Yeah, apartment.
Because I imagine that being an architect like you could do anything. You could build anything, you could design anything for you and your family. But why did you choose, to live in an apartment?
Well, there's a story about the second president, Jefferson. He used to build a house for himself every summer, and he never finished his house. Because an architect, because his ideas are developing constantly, so he changes the house, so he can never finish the house. But that's the story I can tell you, but that's a story. And my story is, I used to live in an apartment. I started out as an apartment, but I had a special interior design. You know, I had beautiful, differently designed bookcases and models and everything as a honeymooner. But when the baby was born, every corners, every angle should be softened out.
My friends tell me all the time.
So I got rid of everything and became a very plain house for a safe house.
So you baby saved the house.
Yes, baby saved
and
the house.
from that on,
From that on, the house became a place where wife and kids stay the most. So it has to be tuned to them, not to me. And for me, I have an office which I can decorate as I wish. So my desire for a special, unique spatial quality could be achieved through offices. So that's why I can manage to live in an apartment. The other reason is, we've talked about this with my family, and my family wants to live in an urban condition in Seoul. And building a house in the right center in the house in Korea is not very difficult.
Right,
it's not
in the
easy.
city.
You need a lot of capital. But actually, living in an apartment, it's okay because, as I said, there's a contrast between my office, which is red, black, and gold, and special and unique, and there's a very, very banal and bland, but functional apartment. So there's a contrast, which, as you realize, I have such a contrasting lifestyle, so it works out.
Do you think that you will ever end up building a house for yourself, though?
Well, I haven't. You see, the thing is, it might eventually happen, as everything has happened that way. Slowly. Eventually.
Now, this may be something that a lot of people are wondering. I'm curious, and I'm sure that many of our viewers are curious as well. What exactly does an architect do? Because I have this vague idea. Of course, I learned a lot from you today, but if I think architect, I would automatically think of a person who builds buildings or designs buildings. So what is your job? What exactly is it that an architect does?
Many people like to compare architect to a conductor in a symphony.
Ah.
So you orchestrate the whole thing, different parts. So a conductor in a symphony does not actually play every instrument, but knows how it sounds and how it should sound and how it should be in harmony. So on that perspective, an architect would be a composer in that sense. So he is in charge of the harmony of the whole architecture, from design to built environment. So the whole process he conducts, in a simple term. Yeah, but if I can explain a little more, he starts by meeting the client and here's what he or she or the family desires, and put that in a design language.
Yes.
And add his ideas also, mix it up, and provide a house or a building, whatever, and designs it. And then he doesn't do it alone. He has partners or staff to help him out, and he has consultants like electricity, mechanical, landscape, whatever, all these structure. He adds that up, and then after the design is done, he has to go get the building permit from the government.
Oh, so you have to do a lot of things.
A building permit. So we deal with the government, building permit. After that, we have a go, and then we do construction documents, which is basically a manual to build. It's like you buy a Lego, you have construction documents, right? It tells you how to build. So then you do construction documents. After that, you meet the general contractor. Of course, the client can bring the general contractor. I don't have to.
A general contractor
is a builder, basically a builder.
builder.
Builder. He's in charge of many parts of building, not just building, plumbing, everything, painting, every part, because it's a complex process. So after construction documents, a large bulk of work is finished, but we have the supervision left. We just want to make sure that everything we've drawn, made as a document, is processed properly. So we go to the sites and we supervise. We check it out. And then after, when the building is built in Korea, we have to do more paperwork saying that it was been built properly, so that the government also check, the official will check, okay, everything is all set. Then we have to do that also. So building permit and the permit to live. It's called permit to live.
Permit to live.
Yeah. The right permit to live. So we do all these processes. So it's a long process. So it usually takes at least a year, because design takes about 3 to 4 months, 6 months. Building 3 to 4, so it's a year, at least a year.
So to build an average-sized house, you would say would normally...
A small house would take the quickest would be 6 months.
6 months to 1 year to build the house. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a conductor. It's a good comparison, right? Yeah. You don't have to know everything, but you know how it sounds. Yeah.
And you know what you want.
Yes, of course. Okay. No. Drum, no, harder. Hit
Stronger.
the drum harder. Violin, no, slower. No. So that's what we do. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Conductor it is.
Yes.
Now, last but not least, we have our final question for you. It's a very simple question, but it may be difficult.
Yes, very difficult, of course. Yes.
What does architecture mean to you?
It's about, let's talk about a house. Architecture is about, let's say, a house, a home. It's about shelter. It's about being secure. It's about being happy, or ideal family. So it's symbolizing an idea of human union in a structure. Okay, now we go to a multi-house, many houses, then becomes a community. So we design communities. Right. We design buildings. Now we design libraries. It means we design institutions, meaning that we have architecture is about an idea of an union in different forms, and giving a clothing, or giving a structure, giving a form to an idea. What architecture is, putting an idea of institution and communications and community into a built environment. So it starts with the house, but it goes all the way to a multi-house, it goes to institutions, it goes to buildings. Right. It can represent an idea of a conglomerate. It could be, like, for example, it could be expressing the idea of Prada, for example. It could be expressing Gucci, whatever. It could be expressing the idea of goodness, whatever. And then all the way to the city. Architecture can think about the city, what the city should be. Should it have a center? Should it have a periphery? Should it have many centers? So architecture is about ideas, about idea and physicality at the same time, and expanding it from the smallest to the largest. So it's a grand scale project.
I was going to say, it sounds very grand.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Well, we want to thank you very much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure talking to you. It was at such a beautiful place, and it was such a beautiful lady.
Oh, thank you.
It was great, yeah.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity, especially giving me a chance to come to a place so wonderful, a place full of your memories of your childhood. And most of all, thank you for your time and for sharing your knowledge and your story with us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right.
Hoon is now undertaking a new challenge to break the stereotype that buildings do not move. As an outsider in the architecture community, the groundbreaking architect has received conflicting reviews at the opposite ends of the spectrum regarding his experimental structures. One thing is for sure, though, his innovative architectural designs aren't the result of his deliberate attempt to stand out from the rest, but arise from a deep understanding of himself and following his heart.